you as well.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. Right, you can all mute yourselves again or whatever you need to do, or turn your video off, Aaron, if you want, because we've got you, and that's fine. Yes.
You are a bit muffled, I would say.
Is that any better?
Marginally.
Hang on, we're just going to try and turn us up. Any better
Not
now?
so much the volume, it's the quality.
I can't do a lot about that, it's my voice. I blame my mother for bringing me to Chorley. We will try and carry on.
Okay.
I will speak as poshly as I can, Aaron.
That's a leadership bid, wasn't it?
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Executive Cabinet meeting. The first item of business is any apologies. Have we got any apologies? No, thank you. Next item is the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of May. I'm on the wrong agenda, apologies. Why am I on the council meeting?
We can have a dry run if you want.
It is the minutes of the meeting. It's the minutes of the 16th of June Executive Cabinet. So we'll start again. Which you should all have, and I haven't. But carry on for a moment. Yes. So the minutes of the meeting of the 16th of June. Proposed. Anybody wish to second those? Somebody put. Thank you, Beverley Murray. All those in favour, please show. Those who can. Thank you. Right. Have we any declarations of interest? No, can't see any. Any public questions? Nina's on holiday. I just realised that's why I've got Ruth back doing no chair. There are no questions. Right, we move on to item 3, which is our first proper item, which is Councillor Wilson, his key contracts and partnerships update. Am I on the right agenda, Peter?
You are on the right. Well, you're on the same agenda as me. So
God.
if the two of us would do it, then everyone else can catch up. Yeah. So obviously the report just updates you on the performance of our key partners, and without going through everyone in fine detail, just to try and give an overview, we see that the overall performance of our partners is good. Probably some of the standout ones perhaps are that I'll mention are FCC, obviously the waste contract. The performance there is still off target, as it were, still not hitting the missed collections of 30 per 100,000, but it has improved over the months of which they've been operating, and obviously that's against the backdrop of a challenging period during COVID, which I think we'd all agree actually we did exceptionally well on in the circumstances, and obviously then the knock-on effects of COVID and the lockdown and the fact that there's shortage of HGV drivers rather, and of course the fact that they can be in high demand now and demand high wages has presented its challenges to us, as well as obviously some of the changes at South Ribble as well. So we continue to strive for improved performance. It is getting better. And of course the penalties are still there that are in place if of course the collections are missed. So sort of happy with the contract as it stands, but obviously pushing for improved performance. Duxbury Golf Course, there's been some significant changes there with the opening of the driving range and the adventure golf. So again, that's improvements to the facility, and hopefully we'll see that being very well used during these nice weather that we've got now, not just by golfers but by the families as well, albeit that it's now under Parkwood Leisure Limited, not I've already forgotten the name of it. Glendale, there we go, Glendale. Blackpool Council, again, that's payroll, and with the exception of moving to our emails rather than paper pay slips, I think again generally it's been relatively smooth. The other big one there on page 8 is Select Move. Again, that's a real challenge, but I think there's two separate challenges with Select Move. There's the way Select Move operates as a system, and there's some benefits to that. There are also some difficulties with that, and that's obviously being looked at as part of the work of the scrutiny group that we expect to report back in a month or so's time. And of course then there's the issue of just the general level of access to affordable housing in the borough, and not just this borough but across the whole area that Select Move covers as well. And again, we're not on our own in that problem, but also it is a problem that we've got to face, deal with as well. So just worth mentioning that. But again, we look forward to the recommendations from the working group on that. I think the few of the others, Chair, just if I may touch on shared services. Obviously, we debated shared services at length at Council, at Cabinet, and in the Shared Services Committee. we've done the phase 1, we've done the phase 2, we're looking at the phase 3 coming forward, which is perhaps more scaled down than the previous phases. Yes, it has been beneficial in terms of the financial savings we made. Obviously, there are some benefits in terms of the resilience and the strengthening of teams, but there are also some challenges there as well, which again, I think we all know quite a bit about, and some of the difficulties that it's created. But again, like everything, you have to deal with them and work on it. So we'll see as that progresses. Local plan working, again, very important that we get this brought in as quickly as we possibly can. Again, we all know the issues and the challenges around 5-year land supply, what that means in our communities in terms of dealing with planning applications, particularly those that perhaps are deemed unnecessary. But then again, at the same time, we need the plan in place so we can plan over the 15-year period to make sure that we deliver the housing requirement, but more importantly, bring forward the infrastructure improvements that are needed with that housing development, rather than just being swamped, perhaps, as we feel we are now. I don't think I need to mention any of the others, Chair, specifically, although happy to take any questions on any of the partnerships.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And just on the FCC contract, some people might be aware there has been some issues this week with some miscollections on the green bins in some areas. I think that's a COVID issue generally, particularly amongst them. As Peter said, there has been a massive demand on drivers, a massive demand on staff left, right and centre. And I think when people don't turn in or teams are having to be thrown together, that's creating some missed collections. So if members can let us know if that's happening, and we've got Asim spoke to us about responses to that. But I think we all have to accept that there's a lot of people, and if you just go on the trains, for example, there's trains being cancelled left, right and centre, buses being cancelled left, right and centre. Everybody's struggling when people are ringing in saying they've tested positive for COVID and they're not coming to work. And that's one of the symptoms we have at the moment, in a bit of a spike at the moment as well that's going on. Questions? Adrian.
Thank you, Chair. Just on that point, all members in the affected areas are emailed anyway when there's miscollections, as well as comms are doing their bit to get the messages out, and obviously leaving the bins out the following day. So we're on top of that. Just a quick comment, just highlight paragraph 17 of the report on page 7, and throughout the next 12 months we will be adopting, in effect, a waste and recycling strategy, because we've, in effect, I think a year or so, we sidelined the 30 per 1,000 target, the 30 per 100,000 target, and we're now going to deliver a waste and recycling strategy to be more strategic, Chair.
Thank you for that, Adrian. Any other comments, questions on that report? No, in which case we have to note the report. I take it the report is noted. Are we happy with that? Okay, excellent. We'll move on to the next item, item 4, which is the approval to have a tender for remedial repairs to Brinschool Pool concrete floors. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the Brinschool Pool, members will all be familiar with Brinschool Pool, obviously, so I don't need to sort of explain its background or its history, but obviously, as a very old building and an old pool, it is in need of repair, and basically we are in a position, Chair, which I think is highlighted in the reports, where a solution is needed quickly, as it were, given the state of the base of the pool and of the support, the concrete support underneath the pool. What the options we have initially was a short-term fix, as it were, which is mentioned in the report, sort of £82,000. A fix which would involve taking action to sort of not just deal with the failing concrete, but also with the structural supports that are in place, as well as in the base of the pool, to a tune of £600,000. Or an estimate of £600,000 rather, and that would mean that the pool would be close to 6 months. So that's one option. That would then estimated lifespan of that work would be roughly in the region of 20 years. And then there's the option that's mentioned in the report, which is the more expensive option, which is basically a complete rip out the whole the whole damn thing, the pool, the change rooms, the lot, and then effectively rebuild, and that comes at a cost of 1.2 million. The advantage of that, of course, is your lifespan is extended, obviously, so it's a question of investing there. I think the two issues for us, Chair, is one is the amount of disruption, because that would mean it's closed for at least 12 months, potentially longer, and of course then you've got the issues of the budgets that we're dealing with, and the fact that we've got work to be done on all seasons as well. We've got work to be done on our other leisure facilities. So I think it's trying to take a balance between the amount we invest with a solution that will last a long time, because I still think 20 years is a significant period, but at the same time doesn't sort of, allows us to do work that's, again, much needed and in desperate need on the other leisure facilities. So I think it's trying to strike that balance. So the report, basically, it gives us the details of what needs to be carried out in terms of the damage that's there. You can see that in the appendix. So it tells us what needs to be done in terms of the failing concrete. It tells us what needs to be done with the pool. And I think, Chair, that on balance, the recommendation to go for the option of the closure for 6 months, the repairs to take place, and then hopefully giving it another 20 years at least, will put us in a good position. So that's the recommendation for Cabinet.
Thank you, Peter. Pools, swimming pools, facilities like this are always emotive, and ones in villages particularly emotive. I noticed there's a by-election today in Hyndburn. The main issue there, I think, is Mercer Pools in Great Harwood. So it's not just us that faces these battles, it's happening across the county and elsewhere. So I think, yes, there's 3 options. You can have the gold-plated, you can do the cheap and cheerful, or you can go somewhere in the middle, and this is the middle ground, which will give us a certain amount of reassurance for the next 20 years. But, and who knows where we'll be in 20 years regarding this kind of facility. But it may be one of the last facilities of its type left, the way that they're going elsewhere. So, questions or comments, anybody, on this proposal? Danny.
Thanks, Chair. Just an observation, and I think you'll say no. Because of the age of the baths, and because of how unique they are to the area, and I'm sure there are agencies out there would like to see it, carry on going. Is there any prospect that we could get money from other, other areas, it's a unique building, and I'm sure there's somewhere that there's money, grants for it that would help it because of the state of it and where it's situated. So I just wonder if there's any way we can get some grant for it. Thank you.
Given that you expected no, I'll say no. But joking apart, I think from what we understand is it's probably unlikely, given it's a current facility that's in use, and obviously it's our responsibility to do the basic maintenance, but like everything, we can explore it. So we'll just have a look to make sure, because you are right, of course, being sort of like, based on a bit old Victorian baths, and that sort of, there's not many around, and therefore it's whether there's sort of some pots there, but I think given it's an existing use, I think we'd be pretty much responsible for the general upkeep and maintenance. It's one of those, if it goes derelict, of course, everyone then groups round and goes for a great sort of renovation project, but thankfully we're not there. So let's keep it going as it's in existence. But we will have a look just to see if there is anything.
Chair, I was just thinking a lottery grant or things like that, whether there's something on there. So that's the kind of thing I was looking.
Which I think we'll explore. We'll definitely explore that.
Special expenses charged on the residents.
Yeah. No, not a special expenses charged on the residents, which the Chief Executive has just helpfully suggested. I don't think that's fair, given...
I don't give Mrs Francis' response.
Well, yeah. Don't be winding up my councillors, Mr Hull. I think given looking at the picture of the propping on page 23, I think we could run it as a Victorian mining museum exhibit the way it is at the minute, because there's more pit props there than in an old colliery. But no, we will do what we can, Danny. Okay. Any other questions? Margaret.
Try again. Thanks for that. I think it would be money well spent, really, because if you look at Brinscall and Withnell, we don't have a community centre. We don't really have any other publicly owned building other than Brinscall Baths. And it's extremely well used, as some of you will know, by a lot of school groups and various different organisations use it. So it'll be a pity to have it closed for a period of time, but if that is to ensure its future, then I think people will be understanding and will be grateful for that. And I believe it's one of the oldest swimming pools in Lancashire after the closure of the Saul Street Baths in Preston. I think it may be the oldest in Lancashire. So it is quite a heritage building in a way, and I think it's really sweet the way that it was endowed to the village by the Park family, who were quite famous in the area as sort of Victorian mill owners and entrepreneurs. So yeah, I'd like to see it going. 50 years would be even better, but I suppose we'll have to settle for 20. So yeah, please, I welcome that, and I'm sure it'll be something that the village will be grateful for. But please don't change the changing cubicles too much, because they're part of the charm. The fact that they are so dated is part of the charm of it.
Okay, thank you for that. Noted the comments made. Right, I'm looking down for other hands up. Sorry, Bev.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say, Margaret is right, it is well used, and I have asked officers if they can look to increase perhaps swimming at all seasons so people can go down there and still keep active.
Okay, good stuff. Anybody else? In that case, then, we are asked to approve the paragraphs 3, 4 and 5. The approval to utilise part of the leisure centre improvements budget to do this work, approve a competitive tender, and then to delegate the authority to Peter to award the contract in due course. So we've had a proposal. Somebody second that, please. Sure, thank you, Bev. All those in favour, please show. Great, that's agreed. We skip on to item 5, which is the approval to procure and award the contract to undertake reconfiguration works to Strawberry Fields Digital Office. Peter.
Thank you. So 2 recommendations in the report, Chair. To obviously, just so you say, approve the contract award for the reconfiguration, and also for the ancillary works, which is, as it says there on paragraph 4, the alarm systems, mobile phone boosting and car park barrier. The work that we've already undertaken at Strawberry Fields on the 3rd floor saw us change the layout basically in order to accommodate what the need is and what the requirements of local businesses and local users. So what the report says there on paragraphs 12A and B is that this now is to do some similar work, but on the 1st floor and ground floor. So on the 1st floor is to create 3 replacement video conferencing rooms in the centre of the 1st floor, 2 new storerooms, extended office, so meeting existing tenant space. And then likewise on the ground floor to convert the video conferencing rooms into standard offices. So this, Chair, will be, again, we have seen a lot of take-up in Strawberry Fields. This is in response to, like I say, the known demand and need that we've been receiving. And as it says in the report there, although obviously the numbers are for later, the principle is that obviously this will actually, although it cost work to do, this will actually increase the revenue projection. So the projection of revenue we had for that facility, this will actually generate even greater revenue for us. So I think in the long run, it makes sense both in terms of making sure that we get as many local businesses in and we get as many people employed in the area, and secondly, obviously, that over the period that actually we increase our revenue on the original projection, which again is a good thing for the council, but also a good thing for the fact that we're getting people working and hopefully addressing the issues of employment which are challenging at the current time.
Thank you. And just for members' information, I was at an event last week as part of our economic strategy and also part of our shared partnership with South Ribble. Following the summit we had at the end of last year with businesses, we had a targeted business event last week where, like a round table of about a dozen businesses, Vicky, something like that, of which 2, I think, were based out of Strawberry Fields, and spoke very highly of it. Were very interested in what we were doing, and the demand around that table for similar space was quite incredible. That all the businesses there said space is one of the major constraints on their businesses. They also said there is not enough modern office space at affordable rents, and pointed to this kind of thing. And it was almost like, are you doing another? I would love to do another, but we have to get half the money from the European Union like we did last time, or whatever funding is now coming from government, and that's just not available. So there is a demand out there. What we've learned through this process is that demand is changed, is different than what we thought it might be, and has possibly changed through COVID. So this is a response to that, to make sure that that building is as full as possible, even though it's supposed to be an incubator that moves people on. The problem I see is that we won't have places to move them onto that are affordable and modern enough and flexible enough for modern businesses. But that's a problem that's a good problem to have, and this will help, like Peter said, both make us more income and fill up some of the remaining gaps in that building. So based on what the businesses said last week, this is a no-brainer really. Any questions on this report? No, looking on screen. No. In that case then, Peter's proposal is to approve paragraphs 3 and 4, which is to approve the award of the contract and the ancillary works as well. Somebody second that, please. Thank you, Adrian. All those in favour, please show. That's taken, thank you. I think we're on to item 6 now, are we? Which is exclusion of the public and press. I propose that we exclude the public and press and move into part 2 papers. Can somebody second that? All those in favour of exclude the public and press?